Welcome to this week's Pascal's China Lens. And this week we're going to talk or answer the question about the acronym RCEP, which everybody's talking about these days since Sunday. What does it mean for Asia? What does it mean for the world? Last Sunday, on November 15, all of the Asian countries except India signed a regional deal which will change the world and make Asia the strongest economical point in the world for the future. And this is very, very important to know. It's called the Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership, RCEP. And so we should remember this acronym, RCEP, because this is going to change how we do business globally. It's going to give a lot of opportunities, but new challenges as well. Now, this is the largest trade deal and trade bloc in the world. It's 30% of the world's economy, 30% of the population, 2.2 billion people. And India, as I said, bailed out last minute, so a year ago, because there was too much domestic worry about this trade deal that this wouldn't benefit the local producers. Now, they still could get in later. If they do, we're talking about 3.6 billion people and almost 50% of the world's economy. So this is not just a deal. This is historical. And if you look at the countries that signed it, there's all the Southeast Asian countries or ASEAN countries, from Laos and Burma and Malaysia, Philippines, Indonesia, Singapore, lots of them, 10 of them. And then there is in the north, you have Japan and you have South Korea. And these are economically very, very strong countries. So very important within this trade deal. And in the south, completely, you have Australia and New Zealand, which is quite interesting to watch because specifically Australia has been very anti-China now in the past years because of the US and geopolitical and human rights. But still they signed this trade deal because they know that they are dependent on China, which is the architect and the center of RCEP. And so we're going to see a complete new Asia come to life. Now, to understand why they did this, it took 8 years, so it's a long, long time. We have to go back in time. And the first place we have to look at is the Trans-Pacific Partnership, a partnership that was architected by the US and that was started in 2010, and then there was like 12 other countries, or 12 countries in total, that was part of it, mostly Southeast Asian countries, but also Mexico and Canada and Peru. And so there was kind of like spread out a little bit everywhere, but it was like a North America bloc with a Southeast Asian bloc signing a treaty, a partnership against China. This was really much to protect the region from China and its economical power. And so, of course, China reacted. And so they reacted in two ways. The first one, which we all know very, very well, is the Belt and Road Initiative. And this created this new Silk Road through Africa, Middle East, over the sea and over land. And this created this big tensions between Europe and America and China, wondering what is their real ambition. Now, that is really only 5 years old. And this Belt and Road Initiative have had a lot of challenges to deal with. The other thing is what we talk about now is the RCEP, this regional deal in Asia. And this is something being built for 8 years. But specifically when America, the US, bailed out of the Trans-Pacific Partnership in 2017 under Trump didn't want to be part of that anymore because he wanted the jobs back to America. At that point, China saw its opportunity to really take over the RCEP partnership agreement and architect it really in its favor, and they did so. And so bailing out from the US created a void for China to replace by RCEP. And so I think the Belt and Road is one thing, it's an ambitious plan, but on the other hand, the RCEP is really what it's all going to be about. And so the question is, what is Biden going to do? Because when he's president in January, will he join again this TPPP? In the meantime, it has a different name. It's called CPTPP. TPP. So it's a very complicated acronym, but it's basically a comprehensive and progressive Trans-Pacific Partnership, which means it's the same as before, just without the US. And so having the US come back, are they going to drop these first two words or letters of this acronym, it's also not going to be easy. I mean, one of the reasons is that China, regardless of Biden or Trump, has been very anti-China in its rhetoric. Democrats and Republicans the same. So I'm not sure these countries in Southeast Asia want to have a fox in that area. They don't want to have someone to really bash China the whole time because they just signed this RCEP. And on the other hand, in 2024, nobody knows. Maybe it's Trump again. Maybe it's another Republican. Maybe it's someone who's really not going to want these trade deals anymore. So I think until 2024, I don't think Biden is going to join the TPP, but we'll see. We don't know. Now, why is this whole RCEP so important? Well, there's many reasons. First of all, the reason they really did it so quickly now that Trump was still in charge is primarily to strengthen the Asian fabric to make sure that they could recover from the COVID-19 pandemic. It's very important. But the other reason is that they want to show that they don't like protectionism in the East. They want to do multilateral deals, just like Europe, the EU wants to do that. Asia countries want to do the same because most of them are not strong enough on their own. And so this is important. Now, besides that, this is the biggest trading bloc in the world. It's also the biggest trading partner for China, this whole RCEP outside China. And for the EU and for America, the RCEP is going to be, or is already today, the biggest trading partner. So a lot of power there. So it's very important to watch this. Now, the other reason is because RCEP is all about becoming self-sufficient. This whole region doesn't want to be as dependent on the West, on the US, on Europe as before. They want to make sure that they can deal with themselves. And so this is historically a very big signal to show Asia wants to be a bloc on its own. Now, the other thing to talk about is the trade war. It's very interesting to look at that aspect. The trade war really created a lot of opportunities for countries like Vietnam, Malaysia, Southeast Asian countries, because the factories were moving out of China because of these import taxes. But somehow they still believe that RCEP is more important than the opportunities of this trade war. And so I feel that most of the Southeast Asian countries are really looking at the Asian deal or the Asian bloc more as an opportunity of the future rather than a quick win in the trade deal or the trade war that US and Trump created. So it's more a long-term planning, and it's kind of playing safe for these countries. And then we have to look specifically at the US partners in Asia. Think about Japan, think about South Korea, think about Australia, think about New Zealand. I mean, they've decided to join this RCEP. And that means that they're putting trade still above ideology and all this political tension that we have today. And the reason is quite simple. I mean, some countries like Australia simply cannot survive without China anymore. 30% of their export is going to China. And same for Japan. There's so much opportunity in this new market, this new economy, these new consumers, which China has 1.3 billion of them, that it's not possible to just actually say no and say we care more about ideology and even human rights than trade. It's maybe sad in a way, but that is how the world has been run for a long time. Now, finally, I would like to say that I think the Belt and Road Initiative will be less and less of a narrative in China, and we're going to talk less about it. We're going to talk more and more about RCEP. And the reason is very simple, is because this Belt and Road has created a lot of tensions with the West. There's been a lot of mistakes and a lot of money lost, while the RCEP is more something they can contain much better from a political, economical, and social point of view. And so we really have to look at how China and the whole Asian region is looking for pragmatism and getting rich and getting powerful before going ambitious and trying to change the world on itself. So for me, it's clear. The Asian century has started on Sunday. And this is going to rock the world, it's going to change the world. And so we better understand and know more about RCEP. Now today, it's not like the EU, another acronym, that has a lot to do about standards on legal, on environment, on labor, on lots of things. No, this is really just about trade. But this is just the beginning. Give it 5 or 10 years, it might be a bloc as powerful as the EU is today. So I hope you liked it, and do subscribe to my channel, because in the next weeks I'm going to have a lot more coming up, like the anti-monopoly law. I'm going to talk probably about the dual circulation strategy of China, maybe about Biden. There's a lot of things coming up that are relevant to the West, to the world, to understand what is really changing China today.